Okay, Derbyites, we are here to talk about the third episode of Game of Thrones Season 6, Oathbreaker. We're going to be talking about the top performances of the episode, who was the standouts, who made the good moves, what storylines are moving forward, who maybe is not moving their game forward in the Game of Thrones. And I'm joined this week by Amanda Spears. Amanda, did you enjoy the episode?
I did. It was really well done, and it again began and ended with Jon Snow. It seems to be his season this year, and I appreciate how everyone was like, "What in the world?"
Okay.
What were you gonna say?
Here's an interesting thing I was thinking, because I read he told one other publication that this was going to be a big season for him, his biggest season yet. It was hard to keep the secret that he was, not dead, even though everyone really knew that he would probably be coming back to life anyway. It seems like they went to a lot of effort to keep a secret that everyone had already sort of figured out. But he was saying how it was hard for him because it was his biggest season this year on the show. Again, we've seen an episode start and end with him. Do you reckon from an Emmy perspective there is any benefit or case to be made for him going up to the lead category?
No, I don't think he should go lead. I do think maybe they should go lead at the Golden Globes just to stay out of that crapshoot of a supporting category. But for the Emmys, I don't think so. Not now. I reserved the right to change my mind, but 2 episodes in with him kind of coming back, no, not yet. Although if he did, it might be a smart move because there is some room in the lead actor category this year.
It's an interesting case. Because Game of Thrones, the people who don't follow their Emmy campaigns, have only ever submitted one actor in the lead category, actor male or female, before, and that was Ned Stark for season 1, Sean Bean. He did not get nominated. Since then, from that season onwards, Tyrion Lannister, Peter Dinklage, has been nominated for every season of the supporting, but it's been a struggle for any other male to get nominated in that category. Yeah, you've sort of got your pros of the move up is he doesn't need to compete with anyone else from his show. Maybe there are a couple of more openings in that category, with a John Hamm sort of dropping out of the race and a lot more sort of new people. It's a bit more maybe fluid, that category this year. But it's a big step up for an actor that hasn't even been able to be nominated in the supporting categories before. So
it might be the time to promote Peter Dinklage. Because I think he could. He keeps getting in. He keeps getting nominated at SAG, so they really do like him. And there is at least 2 open spots, whereas everyone last year is coming back for supporting. Then you've got Christian Slater.
Yeah.
It's
are you saying move Dinklage up to lead?
Yeah, I would move Dinklage up because I think his name's the first name that appears in the credits. He keeps getting nominated for SAG. I think it's been more than 2 years in a row. I think it's the time to move him up. He's won twice.
How do you argue that he's the lead this season, though? This is not a Peter Dinklage season so far. This is definitely a Kit Harington, Jon Snow season.
It is, but I think Kit Harington more from having an open slot, because I think if it goes to a tie, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a little hard. I still think he could get in. I think there's a few people, when I look at last year's list, that could get bumped. Yeah. Ben Mendelsohn, Michael Kelly, those 2 are probably right on the bubble.
I think Michael Kelly.
What was that?
I think Michael Kelly's in. I think House of Cards had an upswing this year.
See, I didn't think he did enough this season to really warrant being nominated, because he kind of was better off being away from the White House and being away from the action, and that's what really gave him that great storyline. To me, it didn't work for him. It just felt a little bit like the first 2 seasons.
Okay. Well, we won't talk too much about House of Cards, but no. That'll be interesting. There could be some open slots. I agree that it is probably safer for Kit Harington to stay in the supporting race and try his luck of joining Peter Dinklage. I wouldn't move Peter Dinklage up to lead, though, because I think that's a big risky play by Game of Thrones, because it could mean that Peter Dinklage doesn't get nominated in lead, Kit Harington or no one from Game of Thrones gets nominated in supporting, and then they end up with no guys in. At least keeping Dinklage in supporting, they've got that sort of nomination locked up and a shot at winning again.
It might be a good strategy for the Globes, because Alison Tolman, they did that for Fargo instead of putting her in that crazy supporting category. So if they wanted to try maybe and get one of their actors or actresses in, they might just promote them all to lead for that award show. But I'll have to see.
I think play around with the Globes. Don't be too bold with the Emmys.
Yeah.
Very good.
They only got one acting nomination at the Globes, so it might as well try something than keep sticking with a strategy that's not working.
Yeah. Now, this episode, it was called Oathbreaker. I think, what was it? There was Oathkeeper was the name of an episode a couple of seasons ago on the show.
It's the name of Brienne's sword, so I was surprised she didn't show up. I thought she was going to be in this one.
Yeah, it got in a fight and the sword broke.
Well, I don't know about the sword breaking, but I just figured Oathkeeper, Oathbreaker, she was probably going to pop up, but she didn't.
Yeah, and some interesting themes continuing, because I get, like, in that Oathkeeper episode, there's a bit of like tension between Jon and Thorne in that episode, and we sort of saw that come we saw that come to an end of this episode. With an Emmy perspective, which actor do you think, Amanda, gave the best performance this episode? Who do you reckon would be best served submitting this as an Emmy tape?
I don't really think it's anyone's tape. I have a hard time seeing this working for anyone. I thought Lena Headey was very impressive. And the actor that plays Varys really got to show how he kind of works his magic. But I don't think this is anyone's episode. I'm continually impressed with Jonathan Pryce. And it's unfortunate he's now at 4. So if he's obviously probably going to pop up next week. So he's probably out of guest.
I actually think, Amanda, this could be someone's Emmy tape, and there's a chance they could even win the Emmy this year with this tape.
Okay, who is it?
What about Diana Rigg?
Oh, come on.
What about Diana Rigg?
Oh my God. She's in that for she's had better, and this is like 10 seconds. She's in it for like less than 2 minutes.
She's got a pretty funny line. She's got a pretty good line on the council, and as soon as you see Diana Rigg in a season of Game of Thrones, you can be pretty confident there's a good chance she's going to get nominated.
Well, now we're on Diana Rigg episode watch, because now here's episode 1 for her, and we've got Max von Sydow, and now he's been in 2. So we're on who's going to qualify. Yeah. I would have thought the showrunners would have been a little bit more strategic about where they kind of put these people, knowing this year.
I just think, and we're bouncing a bit back to House of Cards, but I just think with Freddie, with winning last year for House of Cards, very likable character, a few fun little lines, not a particularly standout performance. That was enough to get him over the line. If they really love Game of Thrones, if they really love some Queen of Thorns, and who doesn't love the Queen of Thorns, maybe this is enough to win Diana Rigg the Emmy now.
I would love for her to win an Emmy, but I think he was in like at least 5 minutes of this. This is like a blink and you kind of miss it kind of a thing. Like,
Yes.
I do love her on the show, and I thought she was great last year. I thought she could win it last year, so it wouldn't surprise me if she finally pulled it off. But
yeah,
no.
No, I like sort of like a fun aside. I don't think this is probably a tape for her to win. I think she will have a better episode in the pipeline, but I do think that whenever Dinah Egg enters the season, that's a spot you can write down for an Emmy nomination. And I think she did enough here to get that Emmy nomination. I think that if she wasn't in the rest of the series, the rest of this season, I think she's getting nominated, and she wouldn't have no chance of winning.
Yeah, she's going to show up. She's just going to get nominated because they just keep name checking her off. So I still don't see her winning for this.
And she had the best, I think she had the best line of the episode where she corrected Cersei on whether she was queen or not. Like she said, no, you're not the queen. Marjorie's the queen because she's married to the king. I know how things like that can be confusing for your family.
Yeah, she did have the best line of the night. It's very quotable, which can help you.
Yeah.
But as we all learned this year in the supporting actor race at the Oscars, but I think she's probably got a little bit more coming.
Imagine how much the Gold Derby forums would blow up if she won for this episode.
Probably about as much as Margot Martindale.
Yeah, there would be hell to pay. People would not be pleased. But no, I think that is the breaking news, though. Dinah Rigg has opened her episode account for the year on Game of Thrones. She's now in the race for guest actress officially, and we've got to make sure she doesn't get over those 5 episodes. Oh, which she doesn't get 5, right?
It has to be 4. It has to be less than 50%, which I think is kind of unfair for shows that are less than like 10 or 10 or less, because there's a difference between appearing in 20 episodes out of 22 or something and appearing in 5 out of 10. And
yeah, I would say they should just make it 50%. Don't worry about the under 50%. It makes it tough for shows with like even number of episodes as well.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where like if you're in there just 10 seconds,
yeah,
I think there should be an appeal process. Like if you're in there less than a minute, come on.
Yeah,
that doesn't count.
I do agree with you that Conleth Hill that plays Varys was pretty amazing this episode. I think he had a really good scene. Now, HBO don't often submit him for the Emmys. So it's going to be interesting to see what, like, if he's even on the ballot. But if, like, this would be a good tape for him. He had a good scene.
Yeah, it was a good scene. I thought the Dinklage scene this week was kind of funny just because he's trying to talk to these 2 very stoic characters that you don't really kind of realize, Missandei and Grey Worm. What do you talk about? Have you ever had a conversation?
Yeah.
Let's play a game. Nope, we can't play your games.
Yeah.
He was very much the comedic relief this episode.
Yes. Whenever I'm wrong about you, I take a drink. We should introduce that for Gold Derby for predicting awards. Whenever someone's wrong in a slugfest, or their predictions, they take a drink.
We would have all been drunk after the Oscars.
We would have, yeah. This year was not. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, what about Kit Harington? What was his performance like this episode? This was his first like solid performance.
I'm glad he didn't just kind of pop back up like nothing happened when he was resurrected. When he kind of woke up, he kind of stumbled. He needed to kind of get his bearings. And I think he did have a lot of, it was a very subtle performance in his eyes when he was looking at Ollie, like, say something, you little brat. Like, come on. That one was the one that really hurt him the most. And I think if Ollie would have said something, he might have cut him down from there, because he's not the kind of person who's going to enjoy killing a child.
Nah, but you can't let people get away with this sort of stabbing the kings, the Lord Commander. You can't let people get away with that.
I'm glad it was a hanging and not like a mass beheading, because that would.
Yeah.
I want to watch that.
Yeah, and it's good how he had them all like rung up, so he just need to cut one rope to have them all hang at once. He didn't need to go through and do each one at a time, because that would have been a bit more of a drawn out scene, and like, you know, a bit like, at least he did it in a quick way where he did it all at once, rather than sort of getting a high off the killing and going, okay, now the next one, now the next one, now the next one.
Yeah, and I don't think he really broke his oath, because he died. He gave his life to the Night's Watch. There's nothing that says in there, if a witch brings you back to life, you have to keep.
Are you saying?
Serving.
Are you saying him dying at the end of last season is a loophole?
Yeah, I think
Night's Watch contract. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, I don't think he broke his oath, because he didn't ask to be resurrected. So. And there's nothing in there kind of that says, oh, you know what, if if somebody brings you back to life when you're like dead, then you have to serve again. So frankly, I don't blame him. I think he's done.
So you're saying, I signed up for one life to the Night's Watch. I now, in my second life, I'm not committed to this kind. It has gone past the expiry date of that contract. I think that's fair. I agree. You sign up like sort of for your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
One life.
Yeah.
That's all most people get.
We'll get our resident, one of our resident lawyers, Paul or Rob, to look into that and see. He needs a good. I think you got a good lawyer. He's fine.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in the Night's Watch is going to try and behead him for leaving. So,
yeah, I don't think anyone in the Night's Watch is going to try to kill Jon Snow anytime soon.
No.
He was very when he came back to life, he was very glum. Like, he was very confused. I'm a failure. Very much like a wet blanket. I'd probably be happier.
Well, I think you'd be a little bit more confused if you just woke up and didn't know what day it was, or the last thing you remember is being stabbed by
people you trusted.
Yeah. I could see that.
That would sting. Vinny in the forums after the episode, in the goldderby.com forums, said that it was in his opinion that Kit Harington was the MVP in this episode. So there's someone in the forums thinking that Vinny thinks he was the best. So, like, in my opinion, probably the best performance this episode was either Kit Harington, was either Conleth Hill, who plays Varys, or Diana Rigg.
Just one-liner.
Just the one-liner.
I agree with that. I would agree that. I think my favorite sequence was the Tower of Joy. Max von Sydow and this Three-Eyed Raven is kind of working their way up my pain in the neck character, because every time we kind of learn something new, he kind of jerks us out of it.
Okay, let's talk about it, because I actually think also Maisie Williams had a really good performance, so we might touch on that in a minute. But firstly,
this might be a good tape for her.
This could be a good take for her. I think we've done her a disservice, so we'll pop back to her in a minute. But let's stay with the Tower of Joy. I believe it's in Dawn, if I'm
yes. Yeah.
And this was I guess, like, it might become a weekly or a fortnightly sort of scene where we have the Three-Eyed Raven, or the ghost of Westeros past, take Bran back to learn a lesson from the past. What did they see, Amanda? Who is this? It was Ned Stark. It was his dad fighting a guy from the King's Guard or something like that.
Yeah, and Mirren Reed's dad. And what we learned was this like legendary fight that Ned Stark had apparently had, and kind of hung his hat on beating this very legendary swordsman. I don't know, sword fighter. He kind of won on a technicality because someone stabbed him in the back, which is not the most honorable thing when you consider he died basically for his best friend. So it's it's kind of curious to see some more Ned Stark.
So the Ghost of Westeros Christmas Past was teaching Bran, I felt, the lesson that his dad, Ned Stark, was a bit of a fraud. He wasn't all he was a bit more talk.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but he did technically win.
He did.
And as we know, history is taught by the winners. So it's interesting, but I want to see what's in that tower. I'm very interested to see, and they're just stringing us along really well.
Do you think a Ned Stark of the past heard Bran when he called out?
Maybe. I didn't hear a lot of anything else going on in the background, so it's possible, but I doubt it.
When the three-eyed raven said, when Bran was like, he heard me, and the three-eyed raven was like, it was the wind. Oh, bless you. It was the wind.
Thank you.
That seemed like a massive lie. That seemed like just the way he delivered that did seem like the kind of thing like, people say when they're trying to like sort of cover something up.
Yeah, Bran, I think we're all like the sullen teenager Bran is. It's like, why do you keep pulling me away when I want to see what happens next? Yep, kind of agree. I'd like to stay there and just watch.
And I guess speaking of Starks, we saw Bran's brother, Rickon Stark, back in the show. He's back, baby.
Yeah, apparently he is not going to win this by playing the game of hiding to be last man standing, because now he is in the sociopath's company. So, and we know he has no problem killing children, especially considering last week he killed a baby. So it was interesting to see Rickon. I had forgotten. I was trying to remember what house they sent him to, and a lot of these people seem to need therapy because they have daddy issues. Like, what is going on in the North?
Yeah.
Not that Tyrion had any better of a relationship since he killed his father too, but it seems to be spreading like wildfire in the North right now. But we shall see. I still think Shay will try and get him out of it.
Yeah, I don't think Rickon's going to die anytime soon just because I feel like Ramsay needs some leverage with some things that are happening, and I think like having a Stark child is leverage. So I think, he might not be particularly nice to Rickon. Rickon might not be getting all the walnuts he wants, but I think he'll at least be alive, because I think Ramsay, hopefully he was listening to his dad when his dad said how important it is to when he's saying like, how do you let Sansa get away? We needed her. She was leverage. She was how we like won the hearts of the North, you clown. So I think hopefully Rickon's still in the mix. Still no lines from Rickon though. Be interested to see when he has his first line of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently Shay still hasn't had a bath or like a shower. She's still looks crazy.
Very. Let's stick with the Starks and go to Arya Stark now, or should I say, no one in particular. How do you like that scene? We had a training and fighting and like a bit of a montage. Game of Thrones is not usually a show that uses montages.
Yeah, this was a good use of a montage in a show that doesn't do them. I agree that, and I was really happy that she finally beat that girl or half that guy who's pretending to be a girl. So that was very entertaining and very well done, and it's so subtle. She's always had a lot to do, and she's so young, and she's really been good on this show. And I still don't think she's going to become a faceless person. I really still see her. She's kind of the one character that's not merging together with the rest of them. She's the one kind of still out on her own, it seems. So I wonder how she is going to fit back in with the rest of them. Eventually, she's got to run into somebody.
It looks like they're taking her in that direction, though, the faceless person. Like, that is, to me, where it looks like she's going. But I hope that's not where they go. I would like it to take another twist or turn, that storyline.
Yeah, I agree. I still think there's another turn or twist her way, and hopefully she runs into someone she can trust and who's not on her kill list.
Yeah. And she is no longer blind.
Yes, that's good. So one thing down.
I think actually reflecting on, especially that scene, she's got the scenes where she's saying who she is. She's talking a bit about like her kill list. She's fighting. She's got the scene where she goes from being blind to not blind anymore. I like, and you sort of mentioned this a bit earlier. I wonder if if it was an Emmy tape for anyone, would be Maisie Williams' Emmy tape.
You know, I think the only reason why we didn't think of her top of mind is we've seen, it's kind of, I don't want to say unfair, but it is kind of unfair that these younger actors and actresses on these shows are being overlooked. They might, if they were ever going to add a performance category for the younger performers, now that there's just so much television, this kind of would be the argument. Yeah.
Like, to be fair, and I think you said this earlier too, this is not a tape that is probably going to be anyone's Emmy submission. It was a bit of an episode where we went around and visited people at different places rather than spending an extended period of time. There were no huge character development arcs for anyone other than Arya. Like, so Maisie Williams did have some big character development in her scene. But like of the other names we're sort of throwing around, like a Conleth Hill, like she's got a better chance of getting nominated than Varys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she definitely does. I think she's been submitted in the past.
Yes, they submit her, I think, most, if not every year, and she is one of the sort of fan favorite characters. And the problem is that it's almost like in Game of Thrones, the supporting actress race is more crowded than the supporting actor race.
Yeah, they're both crowded, and again, it's just so hard to put anyone in the lead on this show, but. Yeah, that's kind of the problem, is that unlike the first season where you had Sean Bean and playing Ned Stark, and clearly he was the show that first season. Yeah. You're just basically putting someone there so other people can take their spot.
Yeah, and I think the one argument against this being Maisie Williams' tape is that for her to get nominated, she's probably need more to do this season. There's going to be need to be a bit more buzz around her performance. If she has nothing from here on in, probably this performance will be forgotten behind, other sort of things. Which is fine with Game of Thrones. The nature of the show is different actors have ebbs and flows at different times and have, big seasons or small seasons. But if she does get more to do, then probably one of those tapes will be what she should submit. But I think this wouldn't be a bad submission. And, if she were to get nominated, if she did submit this, I don't think it would be an embarrassing tape by any means. And I think she probably had the best performance of the episode.
Yeah, and she wouldn't be overshadowed by anyone like Lena Headey or Emilia Clarke.
Yeah.
We kind of get your standard performance from both of them.
And I think I'll put a poll up on Twitter this week saying asking who had the best performance, and I'll put a few of these options in: Kit Harington, Conleth Hill, Maisie Williams, and we'll see what the Gold Derby Twitter followers think about that. Amanda, we put a poll to Twitter last week as to who made the best move in Game of Thrones. You were convinced Tyrion befriending the dragons. I thought it was Ramsay killing his dad, and Sam, who joined us for the chat, thought it was the High Sparrow unnerving Jaime Lannister. They were all big moves in the show. You were the winner. You were the winner, Amanda. The poll 64% said that Tyrion befriending dragons was the best move of last week's episode. 29% went with Ramsay kills dad. So you won by you more than doubled the second place finisher. So what was the big move? You were the expert in big moves, Amanda, on Game of Thrones. Who made the biggest move this week?
Oh, biggest move. I'd say Varys. I'd give it to Varys. He cracked the Sons of the Harpy. He figured out what's going on, and him and Tyrion are gonna come up with a great plan. I know something's coming in that storyline. Those two are very clever.
You are wrong this week, Amanda, because it has to be Jon Snow killing Alistair Thorne and Ollie and the other guys.
That's just finishing what he needed to. Just finishing business.
Do you think that was such an obvious move that was like just went without saying, that it wasn't a particularly bold move?
Yeah, I mean, the other guys had locked him up. I think they were probably going to get to it without him if he was still dead. So one way or the other, those 4 people were going to die.
But I think him doing it himself on the back of his resurrection, and he did on the back of the resurrection, he did seem a bit glum, a bit of a failure, a bit directionless. I think through doing that, he sort of went back to, sort of what he learned from Ned Stark in the pilot, that you got to take care of business when people betray you, when people are untrustworthy, you do not give them a chance to betray you again. Just sent a very clear message that you do not mess with me. That I am someone that I am not and I think especially, I just think he took on board the lessons from his father. I think it's got to be that move of killing. And as you were saying last week, you're like, well, don't know if he's going to kill Ollie or not. I can't see Jon Snow killing a kid.
Well, I don't think he enjoyed it. I think he kind of, he was staring at Ollie and he was just giving this kind of heartbreaking performance, like say something, because he did. He's hesitated in the past, and he kind of stood there long enough to hesitate.
Yeah,
but
you don't always enjoy the big moves, but he made it.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out, and next week we'll have to play tiebreaker.
Yeah, we'll do the poll. We'll put the poll. I might do the one about the performances today, and then in a couple of days I'll post the one about the best move, and we'll see. So we'll do Jon Snow killing Alistair Thorne and crew and Ollie versus Varys getting the information on the Sons of Harpy. So
you're not going to pick Diana Rigg putting Cersei in her place.
We can make that as the third option. Or Diana Rigg, or the Queen Thorns. Cersei Lannister. They're the 3 big moves of the week. But we'll see which one is the biggest move. Did anyone make a stupid move this week? What was the dumbest move in Game of Thrones this week?
The dumbest move. I don't know if it's dumb, but Daenerys might need to cool down on shooting her mouth off about all these kind of titles she has, because everyone seems a little unimpressed. She needs to kind of take a step back and think how she's going to get herself out of this, because everyone just is like, yeah, you're the wife of Khal Drogo. We're just going to dump you here.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know what she was trying to accomplish by, telling these other widows that she was, a better widow than all of the, she'd accomplish more. It did seem like the other widows, though, were a bit jelly that she'd gone out into the world and done some stuff.
Yeah, going, well, I'm not like you guys. I'm so-and-so. She might be waiting for all these people to show up, or Drogon to finally come give her a lift. So it might be easier if she had an ally or a friend than just continually telling people who she is.
Yeah, I think, and I think it did seem like this the main widow in the house did know that she was who she was and a bit about her, and it was there with her in season 1 and things like that. But I still felt very much like it was sort of Daenerys, like, she's like, oh, you think you're so good, you think you're this ruler, you're deluded and things like that. No, she was like running a couple of cities like half a season ago. Like, it's not like Daenerys has just been running this like fantasy sort of like delusions of grandeur. Like, she has had thousands of followers, like, just been running cities with mixed success, but she, you know, has made something for herself, I think, in her own right.
She definitely has, and that can make some of those people a little less likely to want to befriend her.
Yeah. Like, oh, you thought you were so cool when you're running Marine. Now look, you're just like the rest of us. You're like, knock you down a peg.
Took away her dragon necklace.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there weren't really many like completely like dumb moves this episode though. Like, I do think it was like a lot of people just sort of like holding their place. I do think like Daenerys, I do think Daenerys, right, well, didn't handle that particularly well, but I guess she was in a bad, like, there wasn't really anything she could have done in that moment to get herself out of the situation quite yet. So yeah, I'd say.
Do you think this episode is going to be in Game of Thrones 6 for the series, or do you think they'll kind of skip this one?
Like at one of their series tapes?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Unless they do something where they just submit the first 6 episodes of the season or something, which I wouldn't recommend.
They always submit 9 and 10, so.
I really enjoyed this episode. I thought there were a lot of really like little fun moments and good character stuff, but it wasn't like a, you know, a standout episode. It
was moving the story along, but there was nothing really.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't a weak episode in my mind, but it wasn't a particularly strong one, so I wouldn't submit it. What about like Sam? Was he the dumbest move on the boat? Getting sick of going on a boat? He clearly was not made for boat travel.
No, because I think lots of people get sick on boats. I'm not going to hold that one against him. But we're finally going to meet the Tarly family.
Dumbest move, and this breaks my heart. Dumbest move, Rickon Stark.
Yeah, he
got captured. His direwolf got killed. I think
yeah.
That's that is a bad episode for Rickon.
But he was like 7 when Bran's like, no, go to this family. They're loyal bannermen. They'll take care of you. Shay swore her life to him. He was a little too young to be held accountable for his actions. I think Tommen had kind of a bad episode because he just seems to be easily manipulated by whomever's speaking to him at whatever moment. Yes,
Tommen.
He needs to get a clue.
Tommen is so nice to people. Like, he'll give anyone like a good 10-minute chat, like a chance to explain themselves. Like, oh yeah, okay, I see. Yeah.
And the thing is that Tywin sat him down like when his brother died and said, all of these things are wrong. Basically laid it out for him, and it's like he didn't listen at all because he told him. Whomever he speaks to seems to be able to manipulate him one way or the other. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I think. I think maybe I'll put a third Twitter poll out later this week. I'll do one every like 3 days in the lead-up segment. So, dumbest move, Tommen or Rickon? Which kid played the worst game this week on Game of Thrones?
Tommen, because he actually is in the driver's seat. He has an army. He could just go clear these people out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I think getting captured and losing your direwolf is especially.
He didn't get captured.
What? Sorry?
He didn't get captured. He was told by Bran to go to this house, like in season 2. Stay there. They're loyal. And then the guy's father dies, and the son just schleps him up to Winterfell as a present. So I don't really know if you can blame him for that, because he was so young.
Yeah, I guess, but I'm a results-based guy. The results are not great for Rickon Stark at the moment. What? Okay, let's look to next week. What are we excited about for next week? I know you were particularly pumped for something in the promo.
Sansa is making her way to Castle Black in record time. Because usually these people just start wandering around the woods and it takes an entire season.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what's going on. Littlefinger looks like he's in trouble. I don't remember his name. That Bannerman does not look happy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Littlefinger again. I think he's one of the most fun on the show.
Yeah, he's mismanaged his moves. And yeah.
I would say Littlefinger, a amazing 4th season of Game of Thrones and a poor 5th season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think he made some really good big moves in season 4 for him, and now this is our last season. The sort of alliances he forged were not the best.
No, they were not the best.
Too many eggs in the Ramsay Snow basket, I feel. The Bolton basket.
Yeah, and then we're going to see more of the Freys.
More of the Frey. That's exciting. I always like touching base with the Freys, seeing what they're up to.
Theon's going home.
Yeah, Theon's going home.
They could have quite the little army before this is over.
Mm-hmm. I was also, this isn't something in the promo, but I always get excited in Game of Thrones when it's a trial by combat is teased.
Oh, I love that.
And it seems like Cersei is gearing up for a trial by combat, following in her brother's footsteps, Tyrion, who I think is the only person who has utilized the trial by combat strategy in Game of Thrones in the past.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, twice. First time he won. Second time it was able to buy him time to escape.
Yeah, it's amazing when you can watch an episode with like Pedro Pascal and still know what's going to happen and still want it to end differently. So it's going to be interesting. Because Marjorie's ready to confess, so it'll be interesting to see what she's up to.
Marjorie, another one of my favorite characters. I'd love her to have a strong season this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of exciting things to come our way in Game of Thrones. Amanda, any final thoughts on the episode?
I hope Diana Rigg doesn't win for less than 3 minutes.
I think, I'm not sure, I don't think she'll necessarily win for this tape, but I could see her winning for a tape of around 3 minutes or less.
Not these 3 minutes.
Not these 3 minutes. Maybe not these 3 minutes. I'm just looking at my list, just making sure there's a character we did not talk about. I think we touched on all the characters.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we touched on all the characters of the episode. So that's very good. It's been great talking to you, Amanda. Get in the forums to comment on what you think of Game of Thrones at Gold Derby, goldderby.com. Check out the forums. Get on Twitter. There'll be a couple, 2 or 3 polls this week that you can vote on Twitter. We'll see what. So you can have a say in who made the best moves, who gave the best performances, who was the biggest idiots in the episode. And like we'll be back. I'll be back next week. We'll try to get some people from the forums maybe next week to chat with us about it. I think that'll be fun. That
way we can not play a tiebreaker on who was right.
Yeah. We'll see. Okay. We'll get some new people to be wrong rather than just me. So thanks for chatting, Amanda, and thanks everyone for watching.